If you're trying to get pregnant but you don't want to bother with ovulation predictor kits or fertility monitors or tracking your cervical fluid or BBT, but you do want to know when you're fertile, you're in the right place. In this video, I'm going to share a simple science-backed calculation that you can use no matter how long or short your cycles are to know for sure when to be intimate so you can get pregnant as soon as possible. Having intercourse on your fertile days is critical for getting pregnant. Your fertile window, the days that you can conceive each cycle, is a maximum of 6 days long. The 5 days leading up to ovulation day plus the day of ovulation itself. But that's the maximum. Realistically, your fertile window is more likely just 2 to 3 days long. So not surprisingly, it's easy to miss. And any sex you have before or after your fertile window will not result in pregnancy. There is zero chance, unfortunately. If you've watched my other videos, you'll know that there are reliable ways to pinpoint these fertile days, no matter how long your cycle is. Fertility monitors that measure both estrogen and luteinizing hormone, tracking your cervical fluid and basal body temperature, and using ovulation predictor kits. The right way, video on that up here. But if you don't want to use those methods, or you prefer to take a more relaxed approach, or you just want to double check whether your fertility app is actually correct, and there's a good chance it isn't, I'm going to walk you through a simple science-backed calculation you can confidently use to identify all your potentially fertile days. And to make it easy, I also guide you through this calculation step by step in a free PDF workbook that you can download and fill out for your reference. And I'll put a link to that in the description below. Now, before we get into it, an important point up front. Because we're not using your day-by-day fertility signs in real time, we're not able to pinpoint your exact fertile window like we can with those other methods. So this calculation gives you your entire range of potentially fertile days based on your individual cycle. And because of that, it's going to give you a much wider range of days. And the downside of that, or the upside, depending on how you see it, is that you'll need to have regular intercourse over a longer period of time to cover your bases. And for many couples, that can just feel too exhausting or stressful. So if that's the case for you, one of the other methods I mentioned earlier might be a better fit. And I discuss those methods in another video where I do a deep dive on when to have sex for conception. And I also give you the background on where this calculation comes from. So if you're interested, I highly recommend you watch that video next. And again, I'll link to that in the description below. So all that said, let's jump into the calculation. And I'm going to walk you through it step by step. Step number 1 is to write down your usual menstrual cycle length. If you're using an app, it's probably already worked it out for you. But if not, all you need to do is count from the first day of your period up to and including the day before your next period starts. And remember, the first day of your period is your first day of proper flow, not just spotting. Now, don't worry if your cycles aren't regular. If the length of your cycle tends to vary from month to month, you can still use this calculation. We'll just need to adjust it slightly, and I'll show you how to do that shortly. Once you have your menstrual cycle length, the next step is to find your earliest possible and latest possible day of ovulation, based on your personal cycle length. This step accounts for the variation in luteal phase lengths between different individuals, something that most fertility apps don't consider, and a key reason they can be so unreliable. And if you want a bit more detail on this, again, check out that deep dive video I mentioned earlier. So step 2 is to take your menstrual cycle length and subtract 16 days. That gives you your earliest possible ovulation day. Then take your menstrual cycle length again and this time subtract 10 days. That gives you your latest possible ovulation day based on your personal cycle length. Let's run through a quick example. Let's say the length of your menstrual cycle is 30 days. 30 minus 16 gives you day 14 as your earliest possible ovulation day. And 30 minus 10 gives you day 20 as your latest possible ovulation day. So assuming you have a normal luteal phase length, ovulation will happen somewhere between day 14 and day 20 of your cycle inclusive. Okay, on to step 3. In this step, we're going to calculate all your potentially fertile days. If you've watched my other deep dive video, you'll know that your day of ovulation is actually the last day of your fertile window, and you're also fertile up to 5 days beforehand. So what we need to do now is take your earliest possible ovulation day and subtract 5 days to also include those 5 potentially fertile days leading up to ovulation day. So, using our example, we subtract 5 days from day 14, which gives you day 9 as your earliest possible fertile day. And of course, we've already worked out your latest possible fertile day because that's the same as your latest possible ovulation day, the last day of your fertile window. What that means then is if you have a 30-day cycle, you can be extremely confident that all of your fertile days, your entire fertile window, will fall somewhere between day 9 and day 20 of your cycle inclusive. We can't narrow it down to your actual fertile days within that range without using those other fertility tracking methods like cervical fluid or BBT, as I mentioned earlier. But you can be confident that regular intercourse across this time frame will cover your bases. So here's the boiled down, simplified calculation for those of you with regular cycles. Your usual menstrual cycle length minus 21 days finds your earliest potentially fertile day. And your menstrual cycle length minus 10 days finds your latest potentially fertile day. Regular intercourse at least every 2 to 3 days across this time frame will guarantee you hit at least one of your actual fertile days each cycle. Now, if you have irregular cycles where your cycle length tends to vary from month to month, we can use the same calculation but just tweak it a little bit. All you need to do in this case is review your cycle history from the last 6 months or so if you have that information. Make a list of your cycle lengths over that time and find your shortest cycle length and your longest cycle length. Then we can apply this calculation. Your shortest cycle length minus 21 days finds your earliest potentially fertile day. And your longest cycle length minus 10 days finds your latest potentially fertile day. And that's it. Simple, I hope. If you'd like to use this calculation, don't forget that I've created that free PDF workbook that you can download and fill out step by step for your reference. And again, the link to that is in the description below. Now that we've worked through the calculation, you can probably see from our example why you might prefer the methods I mentioned earlier. Because that way you don't get such a wide range of potentially fertile days. You can narrow it right down to your actual fertile window, which, as I mentioned earlier, for many of you will be just 2 or 3 days each cycle, or even less. And that can really help take the pressure off when it comes to timing intercourse. Anyway, I hope that helps. I'll be doing a lot more videos on the topic of sex for conception shortly, and I'll try to answer all your questions. So if you've got something specific you'd like me to cover, please do pop it in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, please give it a big thumbs up, give it a like, and of course if you'd like to see more videos like this one, make sure to subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in another video soon. Bye for now.